Hey there, welcome back to Wendy's Way. It dawned on me this evening almost, you can see the sun's going down, that I haven't taken you to the yard in a little while since I was just getting fired up refurbishing my buckets. Technically, I guess I was tilling and fertilizing my garden. It just didn't look like it. I'm still not done with that process, but we have done a bunch of work out here, so I thought I'd take you for a quick walk and show it to you. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but Lou came out last week and worked up this raised bed. And as you can see, there's a lot of perlite in there. That's because I filled this bed with the potting mix I used in the buckets for my first raised bed garden 2 years ago. So that is primarily potting mix. There's a little bit of potting soil in it. He worked it up and he planted asparagus seeds. He soaked them overnight and then he planted them. Don't remember how long it takes for them to come up. I do know it'll take 2 or 3 years before we'll get a good harvest off of it. But isn't that an enormously beautiful asparagus bed? I'm excited about it. All right, let's see if I can turn myself around without falling down a hill. It has gotten to the point on my little garden wagon here that the tires have totally gone flat. And we pulled it until we'd like popped holes in the sidewalls. So I think one of tomorrow's projects is going to be pulling a tire off of that, a tire off of my wheelbarrow, and going to the hardware store and see if we can find a replacement. All right. Don't remember exactly how far I'd gotten when I made my last video, but I can tell you that these 3 rows were all tilled, shall we say, fertilized. I removed the root balls, added peat moss, perlite, and Miracle-Gro, and now these 3 rows have been planted with purple potted pole beans. Looks like I need to get some water in my gutters this afternoon. Took care of it yesterday, watered them in, watered up the tubs. I only put 4 buckets on this side of the hoop trellis because primarily I have an apple tree growing right here. And when it fills out, it casts shade on the other end of the rain gutter. And I have enough rain gutter space for all the buckets without having to put more on this side. So these 4 buckets as well have been tilled and they have been planted with noodle beans. Basically, it is a green bean that grows on a trellis like a pole bean. And when the green beans are mature, you can harvest them at 12 to 18 inches. And if you let them continue to grow just for fun, they'll go up to 30 inches long. All right, I'm adding to my available planting space. This is like the tacky table, but rather than putting in more rain gutters, since I have the available space with ground cover, I have a bunch of old, reasonably sturdy 8-foot resin top tables, and I have a whole lot of these black buckets and containers, a whole lot of plastic tubs, as you can see, that have been used and abused. We went ahead, Lou and I came out and worked on this yesterday, and instead of putting in more rain gutters, we used these buckets, these containers, like the 5-gallon buckets, in that he drilled holes in the bottom. We inserted the net cups in the bottom, and instead of putting it on a rain gutter, we have it propped up inside of a tub. So we'll be watering these in after we get them planted. Put water in the bottom and in the top, and I think I added in total like 13 more available containers for planting. Along this row, I have 5 of these old great big blue buckets, or containers, tubs, whatever you want to call them. I used these when I had an industrial sewing business in my home. That's been several years ago. Since then, I have used these tubs for everything. And you can tell that they've been outside for quite a while. A lot of them are busting up around the top. But we filled them with soil, not potting mix, actual dirt. And they still had a little bit of residue, a couple of them, with the rabbit manure remnants that I had brought in a few years ago. So in these containers, 4 of them, I just planted a few potatoes, and this one is planted full of onions. A sweet friend of mine gave me onion sets and potato starts. Now, this is just another table that we set up yesterday, and I'll be planting it very soon with huckleberry bushes and or ground cherries that I have started and that are already growing in the basement. Again, we put a container with a hole in the bottom and a net cup. We've propped it up inside this plastic where we will water from the bottom, and it'll wick it up just like our buckets. You can see Mr. Wasp here. We have a lot of wasps. I'm not a big fan, but you know, they do come out to the garden and drink from my troughs, from my rain gutters. These 6 buckets have already been planted yesterday, and they contain tiger melons. It's a small striped melon that is supposed to be very sweet and luscious, and I'm excited for it. All right, turn around here for more buckets, and they have been planted with the tiny gherkin cucumbers. They are supposed to, when they are ripe, be, I don't know, you know, like they would fit in your hand like a ball, like smaller than a tennis ball. And they look like a miniature watermelon. So they ought to be a whole lot of fun. Grow up and over the trellis and make some pickles or salads. All right. Over here again, we have 3, 4, 5 more containers that we're going to be able to put fruit bushes or vegetable plants in. So we've added 13 technically to our total. And I guess then technically what I have planted so far would be cucumbers, melons, noodle beans, potatoes, onions, and purple potted pole beans. I'll take you down to the basement in a little bit and show you how the plant starts are coming. All right, we're back in the basement again. And I have to say, I haven't been paying close enough attention to my plants down here. The one tray of tomatoes that I planted for my sweet friend Rachel, I neglected for a few days, and they're in these tiny little spots. And so I need to be getting after putting them in more soil and separating them out so that we can rescue these tomato starts that I was bad in neglecting. So I'll turn around and show you what's going on in the basement. We'll start down here. And as you can see, I let her down on this one. They're getting better. Yeah, some of them look a lot better than others. Hard to see with the lights. Anyhow, I took them outside yesterday, gave them some real sunshine, gave them some water, and they're perking up. I'm going to get them into some bigger containers, And pretty soon we'll get them outside again, harden them off, and get them over to Rachel. These are the pepper plants that I'm starting for myself, and they're looking just fine. They're always slower going than tomatoes are, and these were started, I don't even remember, 10 days after the tomatoes I just showed you, and I think they're looking pretty good. On this side are the Baker Creek tomato plants that I started for myself. And not only do they have more soil, they could hold more water in these containers. So there are, it's kind of funny to look down here, but there are yellow pear tomatoes. There are Dr. Witchy's big yellow beautiful tomatoes. Couple of flats full, and then these are some atomic grape. I cannot wait to get those outside and get them in the dirt. And this whole shelf unit over here was kind of an afterthought. Let me turn the lights off so you can actually see what's happening over here. Well, that was that. Let's try a different button, shall we? Hang on just a second. There we go. We'll plug that in before we go back upstairs. All right. On this bottom shelf, these are eggplant. And they're an eggplant called Casper because they're white instead of purple. And I was doing some studying yesterday on how to preserve eggplant because, you know, if I have some good production, you know, and I don't want to sell them or give them away, I found a method of preserving them that I can't wait to try and I can't wait to show y'all. All right, up here, a little difficult to see, but they are growing. They start tiny. I remember from last year, these are ground cherries. Last year we had just enormous amounts of ground cherries. And I'm really excited to see how many we're going to end up with this year. I probably won't separate off every little stem and end up with dozens of plants like we did last year because we just don't need that many. But we will get them planted. And over here, the biggest of the plants on this shelf unit, and these are huckleberry bushes. I've never grown huckleberries before, but that's what they look like. My bestie Jane is an enormous fan of huckleberry jam. My dad likes to make pies and things out of them, and these came from Baker Creek as well. They grow in a bush style, which is supposed to be very prolific, grown in a container. So those we will probably get out into the garden within the next few days. It's going to cool off a little bit and be in the 40s within the next few days. But, you know, that's okay. Once I get them in the ground, it's going to be high 60s to low 70s during the day. And they will all be just as healthy as they need to be, I am sure. I don't think the tomato plants are quite ready yet to take upstairs. You know, I mean, they're big enough to harden off. But I don't think they're big enough that I'm ready to put them in the dirt. We'll see. We will see. And those little stinkers, I'm going to get them into bigger containers so they can grow up like these that were planted later. And I can get them over to Rachel. I'm excited about peppers too. Everything from chocolate jalapeno to poblano. Alrighty, that is one more preview of what's happening in the Wendy's Way garden and with the plant starts that we have got getting ready to go outside. It's May Day, and I probably could have had a bunch of this done a little earlier, but it has really just started to warm up now. It's time to get hard at it so I can get everything outside and get it growing. Ah, I'm very excited, very excited. I have a lot more vegetables and things to plant, and I will keep you posted. I have a lot of flowers too that I haven't started yet. I'm going to put a raised flower bed behind my mailbox, do a little landscaping there behind the mailbox. I'm excited about that project in the future. I have another flower bed that I'm going to be putting out in the corner next to that asparagus bed. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do there. I know it's going to be flowers, probably. I just haven't decided what yet, because it'll be close to the ground, and you know me, I don't like to bend over much. What else? I don't remember. There's going to be a privacy fence project yet this summer, and who knows what all we'll be up to. But I do want to thank you again for joining us here at Wendy's Way. I do pray that the good Lord, who blesses me each and every day of my life, blesses you as well, today and always. Amen.